see. Daniela, up to you now.
Thank you so much. So for nearly 30 years, I've worked daily with the clinical network to address the health needs of those who've relinquished the anchor of family, community, and culture to seek a life of safety and a better future for themselves and those they love. For those many years, I've been told that migrants cannot be engaged in treatment for TB because of their mobility and their unwillingness to adhere to the lengthy regimen, or that they will only cause an explosion of multi-drug resistant TB, infecting the communities that receive them. For more than 20 years, I've been a member of a team that has assisted thousands of women, men, and children complete their treatment for TB disease, even as they scramble to find work, housing, education for their children, and frequently food. Much of this care is provided by clinicians that themselves are migrants, having left their homes to bring their language and cultural skills to this critical work, often at considerable risk of exposure and illness with TB because of the absence of attention to this ancient disease in most medical settings. I've learned a great deal from the many individuals from across the world with whom I've worked. First, that the decision to launch oneself into the unknown is never made lightly. It may not be a choice made with the level of certainty and planning that many of us would deem essential, and it is often made under the threat of violence. Second, that the goal of survival can be completely undone by illness, and those affected with tuberculosis often weigh seeking care for a treatable and curable disease with the danger of losing their livelihood, their home, and their tenuous connection to a social network cobbled together among souls also struggling to survive and fearful of anything or anyone that can knock them off their path. Third, that the pain of stigma and mistreatment at the hands of a fellow human being can damage a fragile sense of self beyond recovery, to be considered the other and found to be undeserving by someone whose circumstances could so easily be changed by weather, war, or world forces beyond their control can shake the person's very sense of humanity. And most importantly, migration need never be an impediment to health. Among the millions who migrate away from their country of birth is represented every group of persons my friends on this panel and on the previous panels have discussed. I have seen the success that can be achieved in assisting a person receiving treatment for TB as they move between communities, between states, and between countries remain in care. Thousands have received the medication and support required to free themselves of tuberculosis when there was political will and the necessary funding for effective national programs and community health projects. Often that political will was the result of advocacy from civil society who have experienced the impact of TB in their communities firsthand. Unfortunately, in the Americas, as internal strife and economic upheaval become commonplace, the very national programs that I witnessed trying to rise to the challenge are losing ground. Many of these countries lack access to first-line medications, not even thinking of second-line drugs, and all but a handful have registered for the use of Dilamidin and bedaquiline. Much of my work was with individuals who were being involuntarily returned to their country of birth. While the sense of hopelessness that washed over so many of them as they saw their dreams of a better life dashed threatened to derail their progress towards cure, the clear knowledge that their future success required that they be healthy motivated them to adhere to a time-consuming and often debilitating treatment regimen. I fear, however, that as unauthorized immigration becomes criminalized, the effect will be to reproduce the inhumane and unacceptable circumstances seen in the world's prisons, where exposure to TB is used as a punishment and is a daily threat that invokes little sympathy. Those gathered today and those who will be present in these chambers in September have within their reach the capacity to change the face of human health and truly the very course of humanity. Eradicating tuberculosis can free a world potential so great as to reduce poverty, decrease child mortality, increase educational levels, productivity, and global wealth. The path forward will not be easy, but you have as your allies those who've been affected by tuberculosis and survived. Civil society and affected communities stand ready to meet the challenge and work with governments and other stakeholders to put an end to TB. but do not exclude them because they are watching and prepared to act, invited or not. Thank you.